Hello everyone and welcome back to Liquid Evil Gaming after an extended absence. My apologies, but I had some family medical issues going on and I had to put them as priority because, as we all know, family comes first. But on with the video. I think I have found, or rather I haven't found, it's been found by several other people for a while now and has even been mass dropped before, quite possibly the best budget mechanical keyboard on the market today. It's such a reasonable price that I don't think you're going to believe me if you haven't seen this keyboard before. So, this is the box that this keyboard comes in. It's called the Magic Force 68 keyboard, also sometimes listed on Amazon as the Quisan, Q-I-S-A-N keyboard, as usually for some reason it comes up as that. It's a 68 key compact layout, as you can see here in the little picture, and this is what the box looks like that it comes in. Sorry I didn't do an unboxing for this one, but I've been pretty busy as of late. It just comes in a plain brown box with this little label over it here, and it's got your product dimensions and specifications, and then it tells you which switch type it is and the color down here. In the box it comes with a little rubberized white USB cable. It does use mini USB. This is a nice little flexible cable that works well with the cable routing system that we'll look at later. It comes with an OTG mini USB adapter, so if you plan to use it with an Android phone or an Android tablet, you can do that. Kind of an odd inclusion, but for free, I'm not complaining. It also comes with this little quick start guide, which it's all in Japanese or Chinese. I honestly can't tell the difference as of writing, and so that's kind of useless. And comes with quite possibly the cheapest key puller I've ever seen in my life. Not only is it one of these cheapo plastic ones, but the plastic feels like it'll break upon the first use, but again, given the price of the keyboard, whatever. And here is the keyboard itself. This particular one I got with the Outemu black switches. Now, let me explain. This keyboard comes with a wide variety of switch options that you can find it with. Outemu is the budget switch option. They're Cherry MX equivalents from a different brand, and they feel pretty good and pretty consistent. This is again the black version. I haven't tried the other ones. And the Outemu budget version has blacks, blues, browns, and may have others as an option as well. And this board with those switches, the basic non-backlit version, is $40 US. Yes, $40 for a compact, fully mechanical keyboard with arrow keys, page up, page down, insert and delete, and all your basic keys right over here with your function keys on the separate layer on the number pad row. The top has another very nice aluminum plate on top of it, and they are a floating key design, as you can tell, as some of you see the Corsair boards. And underneath here, you have your cable routing system. It only goes one way, unfortunately, but it does stay in there nice and snugly. And it's very easy to get this in, which is nice. On a lot of boards, I've found it's very difficult to get it in, even on some of my keyed up lab boards. You've got your 4 rubber feet here. You've got your extending feet, which are very difficult to get out. That's kind of a pain on this board. I usually had to stick something underneath to actually flip them up, which yeah, I can't get them out now. And that's really all there is to it. It uses Cherry stabilizers, in case you're curious. It does not use the wire CoStar stabilizers. The key caps, while having a cheap imprinting method, they're not double shot or die sub. They are just, I think, laser printed. But if we take one of them off, they actually are respectably thick for ABS for stock caps and a very cheap board. Actually better than the caps that come on the Cull, and the legends have not faded nearly as quickly either. In fact, they haven't faded at all yet, and I haven't swapped out the keycaps on this. But this board is unique in that A, its price that I mentioned earlier, but it comes with a wide girth of options that can impact that price. The very basic models, which are only $40, offer Outemu blacks, browns, or blues, and have no backlighting or anything else. It's just this basic board you see here. And you can even get it with Cherry MX switches, even rarer variants like Cherry MX Green or Cherry MX Whites, which raised the cost of the board to about $80 to $90. But those versions are also backlit. They also have the Outemu versions with a cheaper switch that are backlit and have dip switch options in the back of the board. Those are right around $60 US if you really want the backlighting. And the Cherry MX versions go for anywhere from $75 to $100 depending on the particular variant of Cherry MX switch that you want on the board. The mass drop version, I believe, had Gatorons as an option, but don't quote me on that. So there's just a lot of variety here that you can get depending on your likes and how much money you want to spend. Personally, I like the $40 versions of this because if I'm going to spend a lot of money, there are other boards I know I would rather invest in. But for $40, you get a great solid board here. I've tested it extensively for key chatter using switch hitter software from Elite Keyboards. I've also tested it in games and general typing, and I haven't found any problems with the board whatsoever. It's been very, very solid for the money. I'm still in shock and awe that this board was only $40. I mean, that's unbelievable. I mean, a good rubber dome is going to cost that, if not more. Excuse me. I mean, and the inclusion of the arrow keys, much kind of like the Leopold F660C, excuse me, their Topre board there, it kind of has that similar layout to it. It is a little bit bigger than a 60%. If you see it here compared to my Poker 3, there is a few inches of overlap on the side here comparing the two in right next to each other. So if you can kind of see that. But it's still much more compact than a 10 keyless, so you'll be saving a decent amount of desk space. And it also doesn't go as far back, so you won't be reaching for some of those other keys where they're on a function layer. But I'm very, very pleased with this board for the price. I mean, having that aluminum top plate with the floating keys, it does have the plastic bottom, but it feels nice and sturdy for the money especially. And I really can't recommend this enough for the price, especially the $40 variant. I mean, think about that. You could get 3 of these for the same price of a pretty good 10 keyless board and experience different switches. You could get yourself a Outemu black, Outemu blue, and an Outemu brown and sell the others and stick which one you want. Or just keep them all and be able to switch at will for $40 a piece. I mean, good God. I don't even understand how they kept the price point this low and the quality this high given its actual price range. But it's very solid for the price. The switch variety is there. Again, you can get it from everything for the $40 version with the Outemu switches, the $60 backlit version with Outemu switches, or anywhere from $75 to $100 for the backlit Cherry MX options, with even some of those rare switches like MX whites and MX greens. I really like the black Outemus. I think they feel very, very smooth, but they are very stiff. They almost feel more like a Cherry MX Super Black, so they feel stiffer than Cherry MX Blacks do, even though they're supposed to be the exact equivalent. And I've heard the same about the Outemu Blues, that even though they feel like MX Blues, they are stiffer, like a good 10 grams stiffer. So do bear that in mind, that if you're not okay with that, then you may want to go with a lighter switch, like maybe the Outemu Browns, for example. But here I'll give you a quick typing demonstration on this. You can kind of hear what it sounds like with the stock caps and the board being completely stock. So that kind of gives you an idea of what the board sounds like with its stock caps and completely stock. The only other thing about this board I don't like, and is actually my biggest con to the board, giving it less than perfect marks even considering its price, is the stabilizers are quite loud on certain keys. And here, let me give you a listen to that so you can actually hear what I'm talking about. They're very, very rattly, which is odd. Cherry stabilizers tend to be kind of mushy and softer generally, rather than rattly and loud like that. Generally, the rattle is associated more with co-star stabilizers, but you can usually fix that with a little bit of lube. Whereas the Cherry MX ones, it's a bit more difficult to do anything to them because you would actually have to remove them from the board, which requires soldering, and able to do anything to fix that. So it is kind of annoying. Let me have you listen to it again closer to the microphone so you can really hear it. Okay. This is a normal key. And these are some of the stabilized keys that I think are just rattly and loud. Hopefully you could hear the difference and it got picked up on the mic so you hear what I'm actually talking about here. It's not an unlivable annoyance, and again, for $40 I can only be so harsh on this board, and that's really the only valid criticism I could come up with for this board, other than the one other one, and it's kind of minor, and that's if you're going to have a 4-key cluster over here, I can think of other keys I would rather than page up and page down, and especially insert and delete. Personally, I really don't need those myself, and if I'm the kind of person that does need all that advanced functionality, then chances are I'm not going to be considering a board like this to begin with. So I would have rather have seen other keys used up here, personally at least. But other than that, for $40, you're really getting a lot here. I can't recommend it highly enough, and I can't believe they came in at a price point this cheap. So honestly, at this price point, this would take over as my number one suggestion for an entry-level mechanical keyboard. At $40, you can't go wrong. You really can't. I mean, that's like a tank of gas, maybe a little more than that since gas has come down recently. But it's just unbelievable for the price point, and easily takes over as my number one recommended budget keyboard. I would recommend it over the Quickfire Rapid or over the Gans 87GS, my two former budget recommendations, just because these are so freaking cheap that it allows you to get in at a very low price. And if you don't like it at $40, you're really not losing a lot of your money. You're not gonna cry over $40 more than likely, whereas if you spend $60, $70, $80, $90, $100 and you end up hating the board, that's a much bigger investment and harder to just write off. Whereas $40, even if you resell it for say $30, which on Craigslist a $30 mechanical keyboard I'm sure it'll sell quick, then you're only out $10, no big loss. Buy a couple of them if you're, not sure which switch you want. Buy one of the blacks, one of the blues, and sell which one that you end up not liking, or keep them both and give yourself some variety. But this has been my personal review and overview of the Magic Force 68 smart mechanical keyboard. It is absolutely my number one recommended budget pick right now, because at $40 for mechanical, that's not just budget, they're practically giving this thing away at that price, and it really is a nice little board for that amount of money. And I might even use it just with my iPad on the go, because if I break this or it gets stolen, I don't really give a crap, honestly, versus my Poker 3, which was a $130 board. I could get 3 of these for the cost of this. So if I break this or it gets stolen or whatever else, oh well, I'll buy a replacement, where this would be much harder to replace, financially compared to this. So, but there you have it. I will put a link in the description to the different $40 variants. If you do some Amazon searching, just type in the Quisan 68 keyboard, QISAN, or Magic Force 68 keyboard, and you can search through the different variants myself. But personally, I'm recommending the $40 version, because once you start getting into the higher price point versions of the board, there are other boards I'd recommend over this. So I would recommend you stick with the $40 version, unless you really just love the layout that much that you want to get the more expensive versions, then hey, go for it. And personally, I think backlighting's useless, because if you can touch type, which if you're going to invest into a mechanical keyboard, you should be able to, the backlighting's more for looks than anything else, and I'm not a real huge fan of it, as you can tell by most of the boards I've shown you on the channel. So I will put a link in the description down below of the different switch variants that you can find for $40. I'd recommend jumping on them quick, as they do sell out pretty quickly regularly, although they do seem to get restocked quite a bit. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, rate, and subscribe. Have a good one, everyone.